to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 262 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. And man, we're just inching closer and closer. You know, I started off like the first half of the regular season. We are, 2 races in, 2 different winners, 3 different races in, 3 different winners. And here we are to where the countdown could be. Well, there's just 3 races left in the regular season, or in the season, not the regular season, in the season. I just cannot believe how fast this 2021 NASCAR season has flown by. It's really unbelievable. So here we are for the last few weeks and ready to roll. Man, so things, if you guys have been listening the last couple weeks since I, had those 2 weeks off while we were out of town and all that, my grandpa is still in hospice. He is still kicking and going. But it's made things a little difficult from a scheduling perspective, just because I don't want to schedule something with somebody and have to cancel. So I have tried a couple last minute things to when things look like they will work out. And it happened last week with Jeff Striegel. He was able to accommodate last minute, but unfortunately, not so lucky tonight from a last minute perspective. So it's just me, with the exception of Brian Neudorff, who will have some fun times talking a little Big Ten football here, as well as the weather for Kansas here a little later in the show. So if you're here just because you like the interviews, unfortunately this week you're going to have to deal with just me, or push stop, or don't push stop. Just turn it down, let it play, so I get the count for the download, and then you can stop. But just throwing that out there for you guys. And so things have just kind of been a little crazy outside of my grandpa. My back has been out like all of last week into this weekend. It's very hard to bend down and all that. Fortunately, was finally able to get into a chiropractor yesterday, and heading back tomorrow, and hopefully be all back to normal, because, and let me finish before you get all crazy on me, because I know you guys will. I wanted to start putting up the Christmas decorations this past weekend, and I say all that, because for me, you guys, if you've been around the show a minute, you know that Lindsay and I love decorating for Christmas, and we go kind of all out. And just because we know that there's probably an inevitability with my grandpa that's going to take up some time here down the road. I travel for work in a couple weeks, and then we have the baby shower the weekend I come back. And we're going to have people here at the house. It's just one of those things. Normally, yes, we are early decorators. We normally start November 1st. But it's like, well, I mean, hey, I've got some reasons that justify decorating in October. So hopefully the back is back to normal by the time this coming weekend rolls around. And while watching some racing and some football, I can start decorating for Christmas. So that's the plan there. So and then this past Saturday, we had a little birthday party to go to. And Sunday, had the race, had some football, and was finally able to crank up the smoker. I feel like it's been forever since the smoker's been cranked up. So smoked some meat this weekend, which was good, and all that good stuff. So it's been busy. It's been crazy, not to mention, I've got a real paying job that I have to do. So it's been a little chaotic, but that's all right. Because if I'm bored, I get fidgety. So I'd rather be crazy and chaotic than bored. So there's all that. Let's see. I hope you guys did enjoy last week's show with Jeff Striegel. We really broke some things down in a short period of time, and Jeff is always great to have on the show. Coming up, even though things have been a little crazy, we're gonna have some of the traditional things here with the show, and that's gonna be, we're gonna have the Lucky Dog and Lap Down recap from everything that you guys have been sending in all season. I got that for you. The year-end award show as well. You guys know I put the ballots. I send customized trophies out to the winners, as well as the Lap Traffic fantasy players. And this year, It's season 5, and this is something that I thought about doing a couple years ago, but I just felt it was too premature. I felt I have to do this with a monumental year, and ending season 5, I think is pretty significant. And so I'm introducing 2 new awards this year, and you guys are just going to have to stay tuned for what those are. I think it's I think it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So stay tuned. Little teaser for you guys. I'm going to run down what we had going on at Texas here. Some social media as usual. Neudorff will have the weather. Lucky Dog lap down picks. And unfortunately, man, like I said, I just kind of struck out tonight. Was not able to schedule and get times to line up with the current 8 fantasy players. So my picks that mean nothing, I will have those for you, but we'll run down where we're at because things are close. And we are, as we're 3 weeks away from crowning a NASCAR champ, we are 3 weeks away from crowning this year's Lapped Traffic Fantasy winner. So I'm very excited about that. So let's get things rolling. Let's talk a little Texas. Well, before we get to Texas, we still have another off week before we get to talks and trucks. And gosh, that is just so frustrating. That has just killed me, the way these off weeks have lined up for the truck season and the truck series. It's like, how are you going to have I think they had this right before the playoffs started for the truck series. They had a 3-week off period before the last race, before the playoffs started, which did not make any sense to me. Why wouldn't you have the regular season end, know who it's going to be, and then give the playoff guys 3 weeks to get prepared for the playoffs? And now you're going to have 3 weeks off before the final race for the cutoff for the final, before we get to the championship round. I understand they want to go to certain tracks with the truck series, but man, I do not understand. I think this is personally, and you guys know me, I don't knock things very often. I try to be as positive as possible around the sport. I just think there was some really, and maybe it was the Olympics. And again, I always try to find the bright spot. Maybe it was the Olympics and that threw off some of the scheduling, but I think this has been some of the worst layout this year for the truck series from a scheduling perspective, and just not able to capitalize on momentum from a fan perspective. You've only got 23 races compared to 33 and 36 in the Xfinity and the Cup Series, which is fine. I get that. That makes me want the truck races more, right? Which is fine. Make them wanting more. But I just think you in the series that has the lower viewership but some of the most exciting action, and you want to capitalize off that, man, just the way they worked in these off weeks this year in the truck series, just I don't understand. I'm happy to talk to anybody at NASCAR about that if they want my opinion, which I know they don't, but I am just baffled on that, and I'll stop digressing on that. Okay, let's talk about the Xfinity Series and John Hunter Nemechek. So, John Hunter Nemechek is the Kyle Larson, apparently. Like, doesn't matter what he gets in, he's going to go get in and win. Granted, all right, the 54 team has just been dominant with who's ever's been in it. No one else from the Joe Gibbs camp has had success. Now, granted, the 54 has had the likes of Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and some others, like Ty Gibbs. I mean, we saw the tear he went on there for a little bit. So, when you look at what John Hunter can do, I think this goes just to show how smart he is when everyone is like, what do you mean you're going from a full-time Cup ride to a full-time truck ride? He's on the brink of winning a championship, just went out and won in the Xfinity Series. I don't think this is the last. I don't think 2020 was the last year we were going to see John Hunter in a Cup car. And the next time he's in a Cup car, it's going to be a competing Cup car. So I am so pleased to see what he's been able to do as a racer in all 3 series, and just look forward to seeing that kid grow, because he is still a kid, and it's going to be awesome to see what he can do. We really outside of John Hunter, we had 8 drivers in the top 10, which is remarkable. Daniel Hemrick still searching for that first win. I think for a while, when Kyle Larson was with Chip Ganassi, we just saw him rack up second place finish after second place finish, always the bridesmaid, never a bride. And then he finally got it. Then he racked off a couple wins with Ganassi. Out a year, comes back, and we see what he's doing this year. I'm just waiting. Daniel Hemrick, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but eventually he's going to catch that bouquet, and we're going to see him in victory lane. And I still wouldn't count it out for this year, which is exciting to watch, because you just assume it's one of those inevitabilities that it's going to happen. We look back, we said that last year, 2020, with Kyle Busch, an inevitability, is he going to get to victory lane? He finally did. I think for most of this year, we said that about Kevin Harvick. Came close a couple times. Is that inevitability running out? I'll get to that here in just a minute. Ooh, what a teaser, man, off the cuff. Look at that. I'm doing things. But anyways, all right, let's move over and let's look at our rankings here as we head into race 2 of segment 3 of the playoffs, if you will. AJ Allmendinger now stretching that lead out by a whopping 4 points over Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, Noah Gragson, Daniel Hemrick, Justin Haley, Harrison Burton, and Brandon Jones. The fact that we had a non-playoff driver win opens the door for 2 guys to make it in on points, which I'm sure some of those guys like Allgaier, Gragson, Hemrick, and Justin Haley, who are only a mere 8 points apart, are really going to enjoy the fact that 2 guys are going to make it in on points. If we're going to assume things being equal and assume that AJ Allmendinger and Austin Cindric are going to get in, we really do now have a playoff battle from a points perspective for, 3, possibly 4 guys. And I mean, Harrison Burton, he's winless this year, but we know he can be competitive. We know Brandon Jones can go out there and win winless as well. Again, those are the Joe Gibbs racing cars outside of the 54 that can't seem to find victory lane, but we know they're very capable of finding victory lane. Couldn't they go out and play spoiler to the Justin Allgaiers, Noah Gregsons, Daniel Hemricks, Justin Haley's of the world, who are hoping to make this thing in on points, and probably would rather see some non-playoff drivers go out there and pick up the win the next 2 weeks here at Kansas and Martinsville if it's not them. So if it's not us, let it be somebody else, right? But man, I am so excited to see how Phoenix is going to go for the Xfinity Series, assuming that we get to go watch at least AJ and Austin go battle it out. Justin Allgaier, always a scrappy one out there, can never count him out. Always seems to Justin Allgaier, I kind of think is like the Denny Hamlin of the Cup Series. He always seems to find his way in there and just comes up a little short. And again, is that one of those inevitabilities that you just say, hey, you're going to expect Denny Hamlin to go out there and get a championship one of these years? Do we just say we expect Justin Allgaier to go out there and get a championship one of these years? And speaking of recaps and things like that, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I cannot wait to recap the Xfinity season with Dustin Albino from jski.com here in a couple weeks. I know we're going to plan on trying to do something like that. So anyways, there you have that. Let's talk a little bit about the Cup Series. All right, so Kyle Larson doing Kyle Larson things, picking up race win number 8 of the year and punching his ticket to the Final Four. And already a significant difference from where we were at last year at this point in time, where you had Kevin Harvick with 9 wins and, unable to punch his ticket to the Final Four. Almost did it last year at Kansas, where we're headed this year, but lost out to a battle with Joey Logano and was unable to make up the points and fell short of getting to the Final Four, even though he won the regular season and had the most wins on the season. So we already don't have that situation. Our dominant driver of the year is going to be represented in the Final Four in racing for the championship, which I love that aspect. I love the aspect expect that also cannot be the case as we saw last year. So I love that you can win and those playoff points can carry you, but at some point you still have to deliver late into the playoffs. And I love that fact. So I'm excited to see Kyle Larson get there. Question is now, who's going to join him? And when we look at Texas from the Cup side of things, not as strong of a showing from the playoff guys as we had in the Xfinity Series, where 8 playoff drivers in the Xfinity Series finished in the top 10. We only had, I think, 5 finish in the top 10 on the Cup side of things. And when we do look at the standings, though, we do have a relatively close gap, maybe not as tight from the Xfinity side of things, but Larson already in and in first. Fine. All right. So now we're looking at Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. Ryan Blaney looking pretty good from a points perspective there. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, 9 points separating them. A few more separating 15 to Keselowski in 6th. You got Martin Truex Jr. sitting there in 7th, Joey Logano in 8th. And if you're Joey Logano, you're looking back and saying, hey, I know what I did last year. So could Joey Logano in 8th, go out there and shock the world again, so to speak, and win and punch his ticket to the Final Four? Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. When for me, I'm looking at Ryan Blaney, 2nd in points on the reseed. He had 3 race wins on the season, but man, if looking back now for me, I'm saying those were a quiet 3 wins. Obviously not as prominent of wins as Kyle Larson's wins. You look at Martin Truex with 4 and he's sitting down there in 7th in the standings right now. So who can go out there and win at Kansas on the 1.5 miles? They're all going to be fighting for it because they all know what kind of a cluster bleep Martinsville could be. Martinsville as the last race before the final championship race, I love. Martinsville is not as wild card as, say, Talladega is, because you can put the fate in your own hands, but that means the fate can also be in someone else's hands too. If someone wants to come out there and get a little retribution and give you a little bump and run. So, I think NASCAR's nailed it with the last race of the year. Texas, Kansas, I could see where there could be some argument to maybe switch those around in the playoffs for something a little bit more exciting. But anyways, I think we're in for a treat with Kansas here, just because of, like I said, everybody's going to want to have it done and their ticket punched before going into Martinsville. And hey, Kyle Larson could easily win out. I would not be surprised, So, and that kind of leads me here to my question for you guys that I had this week was, who wins the next 3 races and why? Let's see what you guys had to say. All right, Jason Majeski at JStone29. Kevin Harvick wins 2 of them. He's the closer. He will find a way, then opens the hashtag for the Cup 2022 with a Daytona 500 win with the next gen car. Jason, you and I just became best friends, and I would absolutely love it if that happens. I think that would be amazing. I'll homer out and say that was fantastic, and I'd be good with that. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan. Kansas goes to Chase. HMS goes all hands on deck for the 9 at Martinsville. Blaney should have won in the spring if it wasn't for a late pit road penalty. Phoenix goes to Blaney. Surprise winner to take the title. Penske is traditionally strong in the 750. Look at that. See, and that's another thing too. I get, that, and for that to happen, or if that happens, that's where you're going to get your critics that are going to come in on the playoff system. And I get that. Some people just don't like the NASCAR playoff system. But hey, I always will default to, the 20, I can't think of the year, but the year that the New England Patriots would have gone undefeated if not for Eli Manning getting that first Super Bowl win against the Patriots. Best team in the regular season doesn't always mean you're going to win the playoffs. We see it in all sports, and we've seen it in NASCAR last year, and hey, maybe we see it again this year. You just don't know, but that just adds to the excitement. the pressure for the teams and all of that. So, hey, I mean, that would just be absolutely crazy and would not be stunned. All you have to do is play by the rules to get to what you need to do and to get to that Final Four, and 4 guys have a shot to go out there and do it. I love it. Kurt Mueller at Kurt Mueller 20, Chase Elliott at Kansas, Martin Truex at Martinsville, and Kyle Larson at Phoenix. See, now that would be, you look where Martin Truex is at in the standings now. That'd be pretty cool to see him go and do that and kind of upset and shake up the standings there a little bit. Michael Mason at Blaney Ford Guy. Kansas goes to Blaney. Martinsville goes to Denny Hamlin, and Phoenix goes to Kevin Harvick. And to me, I would love that because every year we have had, from the Cup Series perspective, the race winner go on to win the championship. So wouldn't that just be something if Kevin Harvick, who gets knocked out, picks up his first win of the season, the last race at Phoenix, where he was king of the castle at Phoenix. Last few years, we have not seen the same Kevin Harvick at Phoenix. Wouldn't that be something? He goes out there, stuns the world, picks up the win, and, history. We'd be talking about what Kevin Harvick did outside of him and Chase Elliott's beef if he were to go and play spoiler at the championship race at Phoenix. I think that's just got headlines and stuff written all over it. Mick at GoDucks5 _ Mick. Mick, I finally updated your handle on here. Sorry it took me so long. Kansas goes to Young Money, Martinsville to Elliott, Phoenix, Young Money, then change to All the Money. I love that, Mick. That's great. Shadow Blaze at Picks _ Blaze. Kansas, Chase Elliott, average finish 10.5. Martinsville, Denny Hamlin, average finish 9.7. Phoenix, Denny Hamlin, average finish 10.8. These next 3 races are going to be wild. So, Shadow, I think you'd be the first one that has Denny Hamlin winning the championship, which would be, hey, probably long overdue. And again, playing spoiler to Hendrick. So I think that's pretty awesome. And then White and Nerdy at Terry C _4, Truex at Kansas, Brad at Martinsville, Harvick at Phoenix Raceway with Larson, Brad for the championship. I think that's great. That would be extra special as well. For me, I'm going to go and shake things up a little bit. I've got Joey Logano for Kansas. I'm going to say let's go with Larson for Martinsville, and I can totally get behind Kevin Harvick at Phoenix playing spoiler and having some fun with that there. Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for chiming in. Appreciate that. Let's keep things rolling. Let's get to a little Lap Traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Let's see here. If you've made it this far into the show, go leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to. And don't forget about the huge giveaway at 6,000 followers. I think about 360 away or so, giving away a piece of Harvick sheet metal. That's right, Harvick sheet metal, and Chase Elliott's Race Win Phoenix Championship car 124 diecast from last year. So that's pretty stout as far as I'm concerned. It's definitely the biggest giveaway I've done. I've gotten a ton of retweets and all that. Keep them going. Tag some new friends that, maybe you've tagged some repeats. Tag some of your other followers and let's help get to 6,000 before the end of the year. Don't forget stickers, koozies. I've got them for free. All you have to do is fill out the contact page on the website, and I will send those out to you. And I think that's about it there. Let's keep things going. Let's get Mr. Brian Neudorff on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at NASCAR _WXMAN, along with Aaron Studwell at Race Weather. Welcome back to the show. A very happy Purdue alum in Mr. Brian Neudorff. Sir, good evening. How are you?
I'm just going to quote the tweet from Purdue football over the weekend, and we beat the number 2 out of Iowa.
There you go.
Somebody was joking with me on Twitter, and I responded with just the animated GIF from Austin Powers. Who does number 2 work for? That should be Purdue football. Who does number 2 work for? All right.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. so many weird anomalies with Big Ten football because I don't know if we're good, if we're bad. I mean, you look at the East Conference and you've got Michigan State, the Wolverines, the Buckeyes, and Penn State, all in the same Big Ten conference, all ranked in the top 10. You've got the Iowa Hawkeyes, who were ranked second, fall to 11th. You guys are now ranked for beating them. We've seen Penn State with a loss, Ohio State with a loss, Iowa now with a loss. I don't know if they're that good or if it's just, other top 10 teams are losing and we all are just shifting up. It's
well, I think for a lot of people, I mean, so I will say a couple things. Number one, I think even Iowa fans thought they weren't
a number 2 team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we're a number 25 team. All right. And as I think we told you before coming on here, so we get Wisconsin this weekend at home at Purdue at Lafayette in West Lafayette. And we're a 3-point underdog at home against an unranked team.
You're ranked at home, unranked team, 3-point underdog. I love that.
That is the most Purdue. That is the most Purdue thing ever. Maybe because of the fact that there's a 2 in the number, and
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm with you. I am a little bummed out because they've already announced, because it's not this weekend, it's next weekend, Michigan State versus the Wolverines. And I can probably guarantee why they did this, even though they may not admit it. They've come out with the time, and it's a noon game. And I really was hoping this was going to be a primetime game because it's the first time in a long time that Michigan and the Wolverines have played each other unbeaten. And it's the first time in, I think, almost 40 years that they're both unbeaten and ranked in the top 10.
No, but is it this weekend or is it next weekend?
It's next weekend. So, all right, I guess I'm assuming we're going to take care of business with Northwestern. I guess.
Okay, you're right. You should, you should, right. But hey, stranger things have happened. Absolutely. Like, I don't know. I mean, it'd be like an unranked team beating a number 2 team at home. I mean, right. Stranger things have happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That doesn't, as a Purdue fan, we don't know what that's like 9 times. And now here, but again, number 1, we have, but here's, I was telling you before, and there hasn't been very many times. I think 1999 and 2003 are the last 2 times that I can remember Purdue beat Wisconsin.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a minute.
It has been a while. 14 straight. Now, Braum has actually had some success against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And even though, and Braum's had some success against Iowa. Bell. Now that's the thing. He's got some he's got strategy here with 3 quarterbacks. But I'm not sure what he's doing. We just don't have a running game. So he's trying to make up for that lack of running game, which after Iowa, Wisconsin's seeing what we have and it's like going to be like, okay, we'll stop that. But who knows? I'm going to be honest. We're like 24/7 and I'm watching this game and I'm just like, nope, we can still lose.
Right.
That's just we're a verb in the world of Purdue sports. Our fandom will go, yeah, we can Purdue away that game. Yeah.
I love that. I love when you can make up verbs that are nouns. That's great. And you mentioned before we started too, like this weekend though is historic for you guys because you guys knocked off Ohio State a couple years ago.
It's Wednesday, so one could say that they're nearly close to the game, the Tyler Trent game, as I call it. But yes, and I'm going to be honest, that game has more resonance than this game does. And maybe because it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
At least this, but by the way, this still gives Jeff Braum a better record against Ohio State than Harbaugh does.
Well, that's a true story. But I got to tell you a funny story about that Purdue Ohio State game because I remember being at home. This is when we still lived at our old house and I could walk to my buddy's bar. I remember it was like halftime on a Saturday night. I'm watching it. Lindsay and I are just chilling at home and I took a shower. I got dressed. I'm like, I have to go be in a public environment around people that are going to enjoy the ending of this game, hopefully. And I walked up I had to be around people to celebrate an Ohio State loss. So I remember that night very vividly.
I think I was still doing, I think I had done some lap traffic by that point, maybe not as often.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We had talked about that because I was still in Idaho.
Yeah.
I still do them when I was, because that was to be the last season that was the last football season.
Okay.
I was in Idaho 2018.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, God, how time has flown, but these COVID years don't count, right?
Right. No, not at all. Well, all right. I think we've maybe bored the audience enough with 6 minutes of Big Ten football talk. Did you take in any NASCAR this past weekend?
There's a race this weekend. Sadly, I did have to work, and that's why I've been a little bit quiet on things. And I had other things going on. I had my son come back into town.
Oh, cool.
Saturday and Sunday, so I had to work, and then Sunday I had to do some stuff. So sadly, no, I didn't get a chance to see. I was up on our screen, but I can't hear it, and I can't do anything. So for those fans who get upset and say I'm not, my job. All right, I have to work.
Absolutely.
I mean, I won my fantasy football league on Sunday somehow, and I didn't even check it until it was like afterwards. Like, oh wow, okay.
I am number twoing the fantasy football this year.
But no, I mean, I saw that if I'm not mistaken, Larson won.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's a good bet to just pick that out of a hat any week, and you might strike gold.
No, I mean, the one thing maybe you've talked about this and I haven't heard it much. I mean, here's the guy who was suspended for an entire, Yeah. And I mean, no offense, he's always been a talent. I mean, I even remember when Gordon was racing against him and then was in the commentary, just the things he said about him as a driver.
Yeah.
He's definitely could be the kind of guy that comes up and potentially, challenges Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I think those few years with Ganassi, that just highlighted briefly what he could do because of the lack of equipment there, and then to go out and do what he did for an entire year. I don't care if it was open wheels, big block, whatever he got in, he was winning. Whether, dirt, asphalt, concrete, sprint car, open, you name it, he was winning. For me, I was always on the fence of before this season started, where, what's the regression? What's it going to take to get used to the new team, back in a stock car, back in NASCAR? And the answer was not long. That was the answer to that question. And it's been very impressive to watch. It's incredible. And, these are one of those things to where, even if you're not Kyle Larson isn't your driver, you still just kind of sit back and know you're watching kind of greatness happen, because we saw it last year almost with Kevin Harvick, who almost cracked double-digit wins, and which hasn't been done since Jimmy Johnson in 2007, I think it was. So we could potentially see that this year with Kyle Larson, and it's going to be one of those. Oh, I remember the 2021 NASCAR season because of Kyle Larson, and I think that's a cool piece of history to be able to reflect on down the road.
And I think the one thing I've always thought about this sport, and you think of the guys who are, and we've talked about this when we've had discussions about certain racers, certain drivers. There are some people who are drivers, and then there are people who are racers. I've always said there's a definite distinction between the two. You have somebody who can drive a car, and then you have a racer. It's a mentality. It's in the Busch brothers and Kyle. They're racers. Tony Stewart is a racer. I mean, the guys like Kyle Larson, they can just get in anything and they can race it.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I mean, I always find it funny because I came to NASCAR through open wheel. So I actually knew of Tony Stewart, through the IRL and all that kind of things back in those days. Sure. And everybody, and when they talk, what I always find funny is when they talk about the failures, if you will, of the success from IndyCar to NASCAR, and they never bring up Tony. It's like, I always find that the most funny thing is he won a championship, in both.
No, 100%. I'm with
so,
you. Yeah.
the guy, whatever you feel about it. And it's always funny how these people have these personalities that you either love them or you hate them, but that's just their thing. I mean, it's probably comes with that racing mentality. You don't care. You just get in it and go and piss people off.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, sir. And we're going to have that over the next few weeks. I can only imagine. We are headed to Kansas this weekend, sir. What's the weather looking like for us?
Well, since ironically, I just did a long-term forecast here for Louisville, but it's all connected. It's all weather. It's all connected. Aaron and I might be busy now. It's afternoon and I'm working an afternoon shift, so I may not be that busy. And Aaron may have to do most of the work. But I'll try to do a lot of stuff leading up to it. We've got this kind of, and there's a lot of questions about this weekend. It really depends on a couple of things. Okay. As of right now, there's rain chances for Saturday night and into Sunday. Saturday day may be okay, but again, when we're recording this, there's still a lot of time and there's not a lot of great consensus in the data. There's some few things that have to really play out before we can get a real hard, solid, footing on what's going on. The general idea that we do know is you've got this developing intensive system out in the West. The question is when. And then we've got this kind of this boundary. We call it you've heard of your fronts and stuff like that. Well, there's going to be this stalled boundary that looks like it's going to stretch from about Kansas City through the Ozarks and then back over to the Ohio Valley where I'm at. And so you're going to get this kind of this push of moisture, which is going to kind of keep this area of steady areas of rain, maybe thunderstorms, going into Saturday and into Sunday, just kind of over this area and potentially into Monday. It's just the evolution of what happens. Some of our long-term models out that way have several different opinions on what they want to do for this weekend. So you'll have to stand by. But at this point, I definitely think for the Saturday race, you might have a chance. It should be dry. It's the Sunday that maybe in question. And of course, we'll have to see how that plays out. There's really no % chance of racing at this point because there's just too many questions and not enough answers. Again, this far out, you're listening to the podcast and you're planning on going. If it was me, I can't tell you what to do, but if it was me and you're going and you have an opportunity to book a drivable hotel someplace and you can stay the extra day, then I might recommend doing that. And you can always cancel. But at least it's there if you can stay and miss work on Monday or whatever. So just an option. I always do that anymore. If I'm going to a NASCAR race, I'm booking through like Monday. Okay. I'm like, yes. I'm keeping that there because it's the weatherman and I just know that stuff can happen. Or I'm just like prepared to say, okay, if it is rained, I'm still going home no matter what. So
100%. I'm with you there. Well, sir, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I love the Big Ten football talk. And as you mentioned, basketball's right around the corner. That's going to be entertaining as well. I look forward to chatting with you in a couple weeks to see how and where the Wolverines and where Purdue are at. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, we could help you if we do well and then we go to Ohio State, so
we might need that. We're going to need it.
I mean, my view on this whole thing is, number one, I don't like being ranked. I like being the spoiler makers. I
love that.
But the best thing is that at this point, the school to the south of Purdue in the it's north of me, but the southern Indiana school that now calls themselves a football school. Anyway, maybe they should have kept their Big Ten logo on their jersey, and maybe should have learned how to spell their jersey too.
Oh, wow.
And
oops.
I mean, I'm not going to say any names. It may be the state that I live in, and it may be south of Michigan and north of Kentucky, and they may say sometimes on their jersey Indonesia, but honestly, I mean, I really believe this season the quarterback for Indiana should be counted for all the touchdowns he threw to the other team. I just think they should just pad his stats. I mean, I want some love here. He needs to have those good stats, more touchdowns.
There you go. I love it. Oh, that's great. All right, sir. Well, everyone, make sure you go follow Brian through the week at NASCAR_WXMAN, and then catch up with Aaron over the weekend at Race Weather. Sir, good to catch up with you, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks, sir.
One more thing I want to insert this.
Yes.
Again, I know we've talked about it, and I started this, and he didn't ask. I just want everybody to know, and I need to get better. You need to help me out.
Yes.
If you can handle, I mean, I was always thinking to myself, boy, if like half of my following or half of Aaron's following just gave $1, yep, we could really do some damage to help out Aaron, or $5 and I know times are tight. Don't get me wrong. The guy has done a lot for the sport. He's trying to do a lot right now with his life. You got to give a guy credit for just taking a chance on something. and he's really working hard, and he does so much for NASCAR weather for basically nothing. Okay, I admit that I do it for nothing, but I have limitations. I can't make anything off of it. But he does this, and there's still an income. He needs to pay rent. He needs to buy groceries. And that's why we're trying to help out our friend. The content he provides for free, basically. And, people thank him and stuff like that. We get all the time, hey, we really appreciate what you do for the fans week in and week out. And I know he's carried the water for both of us like the last 2 seasons. So this was my way of basically saying, okay, let's put some money where our mouth is and see what we can do.
Absolutely. Yes. We will. I tweeted it out early this week, and
I'll do it again myself.
I'll get that from Brian as well tonight, and try to get some support over to Mr. Studwell for sure. So, alrighty, sir. Thank you for putting that together. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll catch you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, man. We'll see you. All right. Great to catch up with Neudorff. Sorry for all the Big Ten talk as of late with both Brian and Aaron, but hey, it's an exciting time for the Big Ten football players and the Big Ten fans. So, that is probably going to continue on as long as Michigan's still undefeated. But anyways, right now, it's time for this week's Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks. You guys know the drill. So let's see. My lucky dog, Kyle Larson. How can it not be? My lap down, the Detroit Lions. And all you got to do is go look at the standings, and you'll know why there. Let's get to your responses. Scott at 1985 Wagner's lucky dog. William Byron, not in the chase, but not backing down. Lap down, a tie between Joey Logano's motor and Denny Hamlin's bad luck with bonus multiplier, and Martin Truex Jr.'s real estate issues. I like that. Real estate issues. That's a good one. Jeff at JBEF1789's lucky dog. Congrats to Kyle Larson yet again. History. Lap down. This rules package, other than wild restarts, which are fun, can't pass single file, no off throttle racing isn't what gets me exciting. Very hopeful the next gen car makes the mile and a half better. It's funny you say that, Jeff, because I tweeted with Sherwin, I think before the race, and just said, the restarts are going to be great, but the rest we know what we're going to get. And there's the proof in the pudding. Brian at Stormanby81. I'm late, but I got to make an entrance. Better late than never, Brian. Lucky dog. Can anyone stop Larson? He's just in a league all by himself. A lap down, another boring race from Texas, even if they had all the cautions at the end. AD3 fan at Waddle 3, Cody, lap down. Pick is Anthony Alfredo. Lucky dog is Kyle Larson. Chris at USMC _NASCAR Fire. Lucky dog, have to go with Larson. The kid's on fire. A lap down, Texas. Tear it up, repave it, get rid of this traction crap. I'm with you there, sir, 100%. Jamie at Jamie44938. 730. Jamie, we got to do something about those numbers there, brother. Lucky dog, Kyle Larson, a lap down. Texas Motor Speedway was the worst track and boring race besides a few action wrecks. That's general consensus there, I think, man. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan, lucky dog, Denny Hamlin to have all those problems and not finish any worse than he did. Could have been a lot worse. Lap down, Logano. When's the last time a Team Penske car blew up, or any car blew up for that matter? Yeah, kind of hard when you're only running 550 of them bad boys, ain't it? Matt at Camper News Net, lucky dog to Kyle Larson and a dominant day at Texas and clinching his spot in the Final Four. A lap down to NBC for moving the Victory Lane interview with Larson to NBCSN. That was an important moment and should have been shown on NBC. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragons, lucky dog, need I say it? Kyle Larson Racing, lap down, a toss-up between the 22 and 19. Both teams will need to work some magic to make it to the next round. And WRY Cape at WRY Cape, a lucky dog is Larson. He just wins. A lap down, 550. I get you 100%. All right, let's keep things rolling. Let's close this thing out with a little lap traffic fantasy. All right, we are just a couple weeks away from crowning a lap traffic fantasy player, sending out some awesome trophies. I got to go get on the ball. I got to go start picking out what the trophies this year are going to be. It's going to be hard to beat last year's ring trophy, which I thought was awesome. Anyways, that said, I'm hoping that we can repeat last year and get all 4 Final Four players on the show to make picks here in a couple weeks. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag LTFantasy. Be on the lookout for a survey that'll be hitting your inboxes in just a couple weeks to give me some feedback on the league and to make things even better for next year. That said, let's hit the standings. Right now, in first place, he's been up there all season long. He's having a hell of a year. It is Steven at DFS NASCAR Guy with 121 points. In second is Joshua Neal with 121 points. You can follow him at Burnout Avenue. In third place with 114 is Glenn Atkins. In fourth place with 113 is John Etwinsel. In fifth with 107 is Jeff Bevan. And sixth with 97 is Stephanie. In seventh with 92 is Brad Carnes. And in eighth with 91 is John King. So we have a battle just like the Xfinity and the Cup Series has. It's not out of reach for anybody with 2 weeks to go, and we all know how crazy Martinsville can be. So I am excited to see who makes the Final Four for sure. And with that, let's get some picks. All right, Lap Traffic Fantasy players, we all remember the epic 50-lap battle we had last year at Kansas in the playoffs between Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. Harvick is out. Logano is in the same spot Harvick was in last year. Probably going to have to win to advance. Can Logano repeat and punch his ticket to the Final Four? Who will this year's battle be with? If Larson's up there, it's probably not going to be a battle as he searches for his 9th win of the season, and he's already in the Final Four. He's just out there collecting hardware at this point. Kyle Busch picked up the win earlier this year at Kansas. Can he pick up the win and punch his ticket to the Final Four? Ryan Blaney has had a quiet playoff season, but he is sitting there second in points, and he hasn't favored too well at Kansas in recent runs. He'll need to pick up some momentum if we're going to see that 12th car in the Final Four for the first time. Who picks up the win? Who locks their way into the final round this weekend? We will have to find out. And hey, it's time for my picks that mean absolutely jack at this point. So I'm going with AJ Allmendinger because why not AJ Allmendinger? And hell, I'm just going with Kevin Harvick for the end of the season because I will be heartbroken if he goes a year without a win. So there you have it. Can't wait to see who you guys take and cannot wait to crown Lap Traffic Fantasy Champion here in just a couple weeks. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 262 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, Lap Traffic Podcast, and Twitter, @LapTrafficPC. Don't forget about the giveaway at 6,000 followers. Cannot wait to give away that awesome prize pack. Huge thanks to Brian Neudorff for coming on the show and talking some weather and Big Ten football. I will try my damnedest to put something together for next week. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!